Today I thought I'd show you my favorite electric guitars. The first electric guitar I ever had was a Peavey Predator. The time we lived in Meridian, Mississippi, the home of Peavey, and all the music stores around Meridian carried tons of Peavey guitars in the late 80s, early 90s, and so that was the first electric guitar that I ever had. I was really proud of that guitar. I wish I'd kept it. I think every musician kind of wishes they still had their first electric guitar. I had several different types of electrics after that. The one that I was really proud of was a Les Paul. I remember getting a Les Paul when I was senior, and it seems like it was junior, senior in high school. I still have that Les Paul. In fact, it's sitting right here next to me on this rack. And then as I was in college and started to play guitar more and more, I eventually got a Telecaster. And I think Telecasters to this day may be my favorite guitar. It's hard to pick a favorite electric guitar just like it is anything else. But I have a hollow body Gretsch that many of you have probably seen me playing before. I had that early on. Love the way that guitar growls. But I ended up mostly playing a Telecaster for many, many years. I'd say I had probably about a 5 to 10 year run where it was mostly Telecaster that I ended up playing. And then in 2019, really early 2019, I ended up with my first St. Blues guitar. And Greg, I remember going in the store and really, really falling in love with this beautiful cherry finished guitar, and Greg knew how badly I wanted it, and eventually he was willing to sell me that guitar. It's the guitar I have today. It's the guitar that I end up playing on this channel quite a bit, that Bluesmaster that you see. It is without a doubt an incredible guitar, and it plays better than any of the other guitars that I had at the time. But I was also really wanting a Stratocaster at the time, and I had my eyes set on something out of the Fender Custom Shop. And Greg said, I'll build it for you, and I'll build it a lot cheaper than Fender will. And I said, well, I really want it to play exactly like your other St. Bluesmaster 2 guitar, because that guitar plays better than any other guitar I own. Long story, a little bit longer. He has since made me multiple guitars because I absolutely love the way that St. Blues guitars play. And with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 gigs since 2019, I've been playing St. Blues guitars exclusively just because they play so amazingly. I think one of the main reasons I've liked St. Blues guitars so well is because they take such love and care when they're handcrafting these guitars. They sound amazing. They have very different characters. And then I love the way that the necks feel, because I really like that neck style, which he says is from the 80s, early 90s. And the guitars, they're absolutely astounding. I wanted to show you the guitars today, but honestly, I don't know enough about my own guitars to do this video justice, so I decided to bring Greg on today to actually talk about the guitars. Greg obviously built the guitars himself, and so he knows everything there is to know about them.
So this one is a Korean, one of the first ones. I think this one was the 2006 run. So this was kind of the first run of the St. Blues when we brought it back after being dormant for 20 plus years. So this one kind of got the ball rolling again. This finish, I've never seen this finish come out like this. This to me is a one-of-kind cherry burst or cherry finish. I think this has got the tapped pickups in it that were made in Korea from a guy, what was his name? I don't remember his name now. Sam. His company was Samsung, not that Samsung. It was Samsung Pickups. He's out of business now because funny story is he would get high and just wind pickups for hours on end. That was a story I was told anyway. But so these are tapped. So what the idea behind that was, it's like this is wound a little hot, but when you cut it back like that, it takes it down to the more vintage specs. So like 9K, 6K. And same thing here, it's like 9K, 6K, or 7K, 5K, whatever it is. And that was the idea, that a lot of guys would play it like this, and then they would pop it down to get that little extra boost. Back in the, it's like a 60-40 cut. Back in the 80s, it was more like an 80-20 cut. I mean, you could definitely hear that it was a huge difference. And nobody's gotten that right since. The only guy who ever got it right was Ken Armstrong. His guy in Korea knocked it right out of the park. His was the best. His was as close to the 60-40 cut. It was more like a 70-30, but it was the closest I've ever seen. I always liked this guitar. The neck is kind of like that 80s, early 90s Fender kind of C shape. And Mark here loves this shape, so every guitar I built for him, I had to reshape the necks to this shape. But this got us started back in 2006, and somehow, someway in 2023, we're still somehow kicking around. Good old blindsider. This was done, this is Ash. We had the guys from it was MJT up in St. Louis do this finish for him. Mark said, I'm gonna buy a Fender and I want it relic. I'm like, just let me build you one. We can do the exact same thing for half the cost, and that's what we did. So this one is, so we had it painted in the Sunburst, and then they threw the Arctic white on top of, or the Olympic white on top of it, and then they roughed it all up. And then after they did it, they cleared it. And this is the heavy relic. We did the same thing on the neck. The neck's got that. This is like the top relic they can do. It's like, there's like, why, I don't even know why they bothered putting finish on it at some point. But it's got the same contour as the other guitar, because I had to reshape the whole neck. I routed out as much as I could out of here to kind of get it's like a big swimming pool inside there. But this has DiMarzios in it. So that's a PAF mastered that I had on, it's the relic version, and these are Area 58s. The idea is these stay noiseless, and this is wired as a humbucker, so it's always humbucking. So it gives you that nice, the cool tones out of it. And then we did relic hardware on it, of course, so everything on it's relic. The bridge I'd had for a while, and I reliced it off for him. The saddles I threw in the back of the truck for like 2 months while I was waiting on the paint. And all these screws came off an old 80s Fender I had lying around that was all beat up and rusted, so it got that old vibe going on. I really like this guitar. I thought it turned out really well. 5-way switch, so you get the humbucker and then everything else. And I can't remember, I think in this position it kind of taps it to get that in-between sound, if I recall correctly. It's been a minute. This is Pinky. Again with the relic hardware, because that's what Mark wanted. So this has got the it's DiMarzios, but they're the Area T, so they're noiseless, so you don't get any noise out of it. And like with this, like Mark always, he saw me do it on mine, and he wanted it ever since. They all have the, I can get it off. He always leaves the straps on. He never takes them off, so they never come off, which is good. So they've all got the countersunk ferrules in there, and I still do that to this day. I just did 3 of them the other day at my house for mine. Again with the relic hardware. I bought this, bought that on Reverb. Custom made the pick guard for him because he wanted the pearl pick guard, and I didn't have any, so it's just a real thin black pick guard with pearl pick guard material just right on top of it, and it's holding up pretty good. But we had the headstock done too. This was Marty Bell up in Washington did this. He is like the #1 flake guy in the country. I mean, he is just ridiculous. He's done like 6 guitars for us with this flake. He sent us 3 samples. I still have 2 of them. I don't know what I'm ever gonna do with them. I got 2 of them. But the way he does this is just, he's like the best. It takes him forever because he's got to layer this stuff on, and this is like 20 coats of clear on top of it to get that sparkle in there. But this one, I always liked this guitar too. So this is the last one I did. This one, so we used to do a blues caster, and Mark saw a picture of one. I was like, I want a blues caster. It's like, well, we don't really do that anymore, and I don't even know if we have the drawings for it. We did, but it didn't have our neck pocket, so I had a buddy make this for me with the butterscotch finish and everything. It turned out really well. This neck is actually a repurposed neck because Mark loves that shape so much. I actually had one of these necks lying around, so I took it, completely stripped it of everything, completely refretted it, got it almost done, and then I dropped it. I got it fixed, and then I dropped it again. So I had to completely restrip it and redid it. But when I did it, it actually turned out pretty cool because it's got some worn, or it looks like it's been worn in a little bit, because Mark always plays like way up here. So it looks like he's been playing right there. I thought that turned out really well. It wasn't intentional, but when I got done with it, it's like, that's pretty cool. So this is the amber stain that it did, and they're a nice little cool. This is ones, and the nice little, these bridges are made, all this hardware and stuff is made for us in Nashville. Same guys that everybody in the world uses. And then I had him a custom pick guard because I like that thickness of the plastic. This is the Marzio Super Distortion. Normally you wire them in series, but it makes it too hot, so I wired it parallel. It makes it still humbucking. It makes it hot, but not quite as hot as the regular one. And this is a custom wound Lawler that we had made. And I just had it lying around because I wanted to see how these two blended together. It was just a filler pickup, but in the end it actually sounded really good, so I just left it in there. So it's kind of our mismatched pickup things that I did for a while, because I used to do that with Lawlers and Lindy Fralins, because Lawler had this nice little they had their Lawlertron, and then Lindy had this other one up here that was like a telly thing, and it worked out really good in the neck. So they both hated us for doing that, but I loved it because it sounded amazing. So this was a model that we brought out. We were going to call it, I can't remember exactly what we were going to call it, but as we were putting it together, it's an old model that we did. It was the Excalibur. It used to come with a hum sing on a humbucker back in the 80s. And it was bound and everything. But when we brought it back, we were gonna call it, I don't remember what we were gonna call it, but Tom Anderson at the exact same time put out a model with the name that we were gonna call it. So TK said, man, what a Scoundrel. I said, that's a good name. So that's where Scoundrel came from. And this was the prototype, so it's got two humbuckers, but when we released it, it had a humbucker and a P90. And the P90 was a tappable P90, so you got two sounds out of it. But this one, when I originally got it, these are PA 36th anniversary Marzios. When I had it, had the P rails in it, to where you could switch between it to get the P90 and the humbucker and the single coil. And they were just too hot for me, so I put these in there. And when I got them, I switched them out where with these down, it's this coil on each one, and then in the middle it's humbucking, and that you can switch between the coils. So you get a telly and a strat, and a strat and a telly, and you get that telly bridge and that telly neck at the same kind of, but you can do a humbucker in the neck. You can get a lot of choices out of it. I always like that, and just single volume. I leave the back off because I'm always tinkering with it, and I can never decide what I'm going to do with it. Like I was just talking to Mark about, I'm going to switch this out and make this a push pull, so when you pull up on it, it's the tone cut off, so you get that Eric Clapton / woman tone out of it when you hit the neck position. But I just haven't done it yet because I'm lazy. But other than that, it's always thought this was a cool guitar. It's the only one that's ever built like this, and it's the only two. We have two in this color. It's called the dark sweet tea. The other sweet tea is really light. It's got a nice sunburst to it. But this one, the guy who was working for us, he wanted it a little darker around the edges. I said, go ahead and make two of them. That way we have two of them. So this is the prototype of the Scoundrel, and all this hardware on it is mine that I had. So one-off mahogany neck, that's 25.5 inch scale. Use our mahogany necks are 24 3/4. But it turned out really good. So
if you're interested in St. Blues, I'll leave the information down in the description. St. Blues did not sponsor this video in any way. I simply love the guitars and wanted to share with you some of the electric guitars that I end up using each and every week. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so. It helps me. Smash that like button. Is that what they say? Smash that like button. Hit subscribe. We'll see you next time.